County Board. Today is February 10th. If everyone would please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We have three members who are probably on the line as we speak. That would be Paul, Rachel, and Brian. So they will be part of the attendance taking when the clerk calls the roll. Before she does that, I'd like to point out to you, because this is super, super important, on your desk is this manila envelope. Please be sure to take these with you. This contains evaluation materials. If you don't, we will pick it up and mail it to you. Otherwise, we don't want this material left behind. Madam Clerk?
Okay, roll call, please. Member Relaford?
Here.
Member Alsasser?
Here.
And Member Rosenbaum? Member Rosenbaum? Okay. 16 present.
Thank you.
Next would be approval of the minutes.
A motion to approve the minutes, please. Thank you, Ms. Groves Allison. And a second, Mr. Renaud. Thank you, Rob. Any additions or corrections to the minutes as they have been prepared for us? Seeing none, everyone, please vote.
Member Relaford?
Aye.
Member Alsasser?
Aye.
16 ayes.
Thank you.
Next is citizens' remarks. I did not have any turned in to me.
All right. I don't see anybody standing over here either, so we could proceed then.
Consent agenda.
Very well then. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? In the back, I see Ms. Daly and then also Ms. Williams. Any questions or comments on the consent? Seeing none, please vote.
Member Relaford?
Aye.
Member Alsasser?
Aye.
16 ayes.
Thank you.
Zoning ordinance and resolutions. Item number 1 is case ZBA 2021-000001. Petition of Robert and Carol Meissner, a special use request from section 20-6.2.1.1.b of the Unified Development Ordinance. This section allows for a special use when a proposed land split does not meet the 40-acre minimum lot size in the A1 Agricultural Preservation Zoning District. The petitioner proposes to divide a 1.5 acre from an existing 19.19 acre parcel in order to separate and sell 2 existing buildings from the remaining agricultural use. The parcel is located in Limestone Township. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval. The Land Use Committee concurs.
Thank you. Motion to proceed with Mr. Dillon and a second by Dr. Blair. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Elsasser.
I just wanted to thank Planning and Zoning for getting this worked out. It took a little while, but I want to thank them for their patience with these people. They're some people that I know pretty well, and it's in Paul's district, but they live over here by Dunlap, so I just wanted to thank them for their work.
Thank you. Representatives from Planning and Zoning are here tonight, nodding their head at your remarks. Anyone else? All right. Item is on the floor. I don't see any hands. Please vote.
Paul Rosenbaum.
Joined.
Okay. Member Relaford?
Aye.
Member Elsesser?
Aye.
Member Rosenbaum?
Aye.
17 ayes. Item number 2 is case number ZBA 2021-000005, petition of Peoria County, a tax amendment to amend Chapter 20, Article 3, Section 3.5, and Article 11, Section 11.1 of the Peoria County Code. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval. The Land Use Committee concurs.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon on the first, and I'm scanning Dr. Blair on the second. Permission to make some remarks from Planning and Zoning has come up. I'd like to give Mr. Braun the floor for discussion before we consider the item. Mr. Braun.
Thank you, Chairman Rand. So this amendment is something that we wanted to just give some explanation as to why it's come before you. We don't often see amendments to the zoning ordinance. However, in anticipation of future wind farm projects or wind energy conversion systems, we felt it was important to be better prepared for when that time comes. So this is an amendment to Chapter 20, which is the Unified Development Ordinance, and more specifically, Section 3.5, which addresses special use application procedures. And then in making those amendments, we had to add a couple of definitions. Within your packet, the very last page was a proposed amendment to Appendix A, the fee schedule. However, due to the fact that it was not published correctly, you'll be seeing that next month as opposed to included in today's amendments. So there's a couple general themes to these amendments, and I just want to cover those topics. First and foremost, they clarify the decisions available to the Zoning Board of Appeals and to the County Board. So the way the language currently reads, the Zoning Board of Appeals is able to recommend approval on special use permits. However, as we know, they've always been able to recommend approval with restrictions, or recommend denial. And so we're clarifying that language. Additionally, in anticipation of these wind farms that could be coming, we wanted to add language that would allow for the board to vote on an individual wind tower or turbine as opposed to the project collectively. So in the event that there's opposition to a very specific tower, this will give you the ability to move that project forward with perhaps the exclusion of one particular tower or adding restrictions to one particular tower. Another theme is to protect the county from the continuous cost of land use regulations associated with development approvals. So some of the cases that are approved might have to be reviewed in the future. In the case of the wind turbines, there's a decommissioning plan. And that decommissioning plan is required to be updated every 4 years. The county does not necessarily have the expertise to adequately review that, and we may have to hire a third party. And so those costs that are incurred as a result of hiring that third party are then passed back on to the developer or the applicant or owner or operator. So we wanted to make sure that that was clear and identified within the language specifically. The next amendment increases the amount of information available to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Department of Planning and Zoning for our planner's report, the Zoning Board of Appeals for the public hearing, and then ultimately the Peoria County Board. So as part of the wind energy conversion system submittal requirements, there is an avian study. And the avian study specifically addresses birds. However, it's come to our attention through our research that bats are also a high priority, and so we wanted to include those as well. The location of emergency signage and contact information is now to be included on our site plans. There is a noise level certification that's to be included with the application. And then we've actually proposed to double the liability insurance requirements for those operators. Lastly, we wanted to ensure that the county and its citizens are adequately protected from end-of-life or project abandonment, both in a structural sense, that these towers are taken down in a timely fashion, and financially, where the means to take them down are provided for. So there are now detailed requirements for the decommissioning plan. There's a definition of turbine abandonment. There are certain conditions for what is required with financial security. And then the decommissioning agreement will actually need to come in the form of a resolution of approval by the Peoria County Board. So rather than those being reviewed independently by perhaps Planning and Zoning and the State's Attorney's Office, it will be something that the board will vote to adopt. The definitions that we added were participating property. It's not just that property that has a tower or turbine on it. There are a number of other properties that are interconnecting these towers. There are lease agreements for ingress, egress, perhaps underground power lines and the like. And so we wanted to be sure to include participating property as a definition, and then the project area. So in some sense, it could be looked at as an outline of the total project. However, this definition allows us to cut out those properties that are not participating. They have nothing to do with that project, and so they should not be included within that project area. So it's actually a more specific project area than just including the border. We did quite a bit of research over the last 6 months to a year. Staff has worked with 23 counties in Illinois that have towers or farms. We asked them, what did you learn from this experience? What would you hope to add to your ordinance? What were some of the objections that you heard? What were some of the issues that came about during permitting? And we feel that this is a very comprehensive review, and the recommendation that we've brought to you today is very precise. We've talked to planners, building officials, road officials, fire departments. Our very own attorney, Andrew Kite, from our Zoning Board of Appeals, was instrumental in helping us develop these amendments. And we looked at application requirements, restrictions, road use agreements has been a strong topic, decommissioning plans, filing fees, and then again that project area. So I'm happy to entertain any questions that the board might have. Kathy Urban, our director, is also here, and so we're turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon.
Chairman, I just wanted to thank you for allowing the privilege of the floor for planning and zoning. We thought this might be the first of a few things over the next few years you hear, so we thought it was important that you understood the PowerPoint that was presented to us. So thank you for the little bit of time so that way baseline knowledge of what's going on and why we're doing it. So, and again, he mentioned it, but we are going to miss the expertise of Mr. Kite. His term will be ending here shortly. He's an attorney in town for Hyle Royster and does governmental affairs and was very instrumental in, from my understanding, of the knowledge of wind farms and other municipalities that they handled, and put a lot above and beyond time into helping make sure Peoria County is at the forefront of such rules. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Other members? Dr. Blair?
I want to thank Kathy and Andrew and everyone for working so hard to be proactive in doing this. And just to be clear for the record, this is about the application for wind farms, not about wind farms. These amendments are all related to applying to put one up.
Thank you. Mr. Alsasser?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you call on someone else. That's my fault. But
That's okay.
anyway, I just wanted to ask Andrew, is the professional fees that we may have to incur, will that money be set aside along with the other pool of money for the whole decommissioning, if that would be necessary?
Mr. Braun, Mr. Alsasser, my impression is that we're asking to be reimbursed the fees for the professional engineering work that would have to be done during the application process or later during decommissioning renewals, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so I got it right and I just heard it once. So is that clear, Brian?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else? I had a couple of questions of my own.
Mr. Chairman, this is Paul. I got a real quick question.
Go ahead, Paul.
This is for Andrew. Andrew, did you talk to any of the wind farm applicants that from other places or whatever, if these rules seem fair to them or whatever, or did we bother talking to anybody like that just to make sure the other side didn't feel like we were being unfair or that we didn't miss anything?
Yes, Mr. Rosenbaum, we did talk to a prospective applicant, and they thought that our rules and regulations were very equitable to the wind industry.
Thank you.
Thank you. I actually have 3 questions now. So, first, how much do you think this now adds to the cost of a single application? Surely we have penciled out how many dollars we think this text amendment adds to a single tower.
I really can't quantify that. These would all have been requirements during the building permit stage.
Sure.
So we're not necessarily adding any new requirements. We're changing the timeline in which those submittals are being asked.
Okay. To what, my second question is, to what extent do you believe farmers who have ground in Peoria County that's suitable for a wind farm, to what extent may we be disadvantaging them to be sites selected by wind farm organizations for a tower? I mean, clearly we're adding dollars to the process for the applicant, which has to make other sites look more competitive.
The process for selecting the sites is actually, I would suggest, ongoing now in anticipation of applications 3 to 5 years down the road. So the information that we're requesting is all part of studies. Essentially, the sites need to be selected in order to submit for those studies, and then the results of those studies will dictate as to whether those sites are feasible. Last month, we entertained, or the county board entertained, some wind instruments that are going to collect the information. So as you can see, it's kind of setting it in line for a future development. I don't believe, through our experiences in talking with all parties, that the requirements that we've set forth here or proposing to set forth are going to hinder the ability to find adequate sites or deter anyone from participating.
Nice comeback. Boy, I'm speechless. So my last question is, and I think you've clarified it, as sites go forward that have already been through our application process, these rules apply retroactively, these changes.
So we have not seen any specific application for a wind energy conversion system or a wind farm.
Okay,
We've seen solar farms in the past.
right, that's
and
right.
We had a Met Tower proposal in anticipation of a future wind farm site.
Okay,
So these
I
will
got
not
them
be
confused.
retroactive to anything. These are proactive amendments.
thank you. I got them confused. Mr. Dillon?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew or Kathy, but Ms. O'Brien, that was at the meeting last month, she had made the comment that these are in line with other counties. They weren't opposed to it. The only thing, and Andrew stated it, and this will be answering Paul's question too, is we're requiring some of the stuff up front, which requires more upfront legwork for them to do the project, but they would have to do that regardless of the fact. So they weren't opposed to it because they were going to have to do it one way or the other. It just made they had to have more of their ducks in a row prior to submitting to us whereas other places are basically going off faith, and then they have to submit for the building permits to get everything else. So we were just requiring all that up front, and I think that was maybe consensus from other counties of seeing what they've seen, to like to have all the information up front instead of getting piecemealed at later dates.
So we're not seeing, though, parties speculate here like they did with the solar farms to try to get in somewhere to get energy tax credits and a hookup to some transmission line somewhere. These are site applications that would be made for go projects by wind farm organizations.
Yeah, so in one of the old, in the past, they would say Peoria County wasn't an ideal place for wind farms, but the technology has changed so much, and then so now it might be more ideal. There's only certain parts of the county you can do it, and the spacing requirements. To my knowledge, they've already been in town and engaged with landowners and school districts and other places for 6 months or better. Is that about right, Andrew? So it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody in these areas at this point that they're out. And this does not mean a wind farm is going, or we're not even approving one tonight. This was just making sure, similar to solar, that we had the proper ordinances in place and we were being proactive instead of reactive to technology changes. So they researched and contacted multiple counties, because if you go to McDonough County, Knox, other counties, anywhere we drive in Illinois now, especially McLean, that's all you see. So we have never experienced that here, so we were just trying to draft a best practice ordinance.
Thank you. Anyone else on the phone? Anybody on the phone? Last call? Okay, so I think we're at the point where we can please vote. Thank you, Andrew.
Member Relaford?
Aye.
Member Elsesser?
Aye.
And Member Rosenbaum?
Aye.
Member Watkins? Oh. I don't know what happened. It was Andrew's fault. Okay, we have 17 ayes. Next is suspension of rules.
A motion to approve, please. Thank you, Ms. Groves Allison. Thank you, Ms. Pastucha. Please vote.
Sorry. Ms. Relaford?
Aye.
Member Elsesser?
Aye.
Member Rosenbaum?
Aye.
Sixteen ayes, 1 nay. Item number 4 is a proclamation extending the declaration of emergency due to COVID-19 in the Peoria County, Illinois.
Does that require a motion? Ms. Williams on the first and Ms. Pastucha on the second, then. Thank you. I got lost again on that one. Please vote.
Member Relaford?
Nay.
Member Elsesser?
Nay.
Member Rosenbaum?
Nay.
Chairman Rand. And Ms. Duncan and Mr. Fennell. There we go. 13 ayes, 4 nays.
Thank you. So, looks like we'd be at miscellaneous, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so starting on the phone with miscellaneous or announcements. Anyone on the phone? Hearing none, let me look around the room. Mr. Salzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In last Sunday's paper, the Great Peoria Sports Hall of Fame released their individuals as well as teams that they are going to induct on the night of March the 19th at the Civic Center. And those plaques of those individuals and teams will go up. We just happen to have a member of this board who is going to be inducted as a team member, and even though he is not here in person, he is on the phone. And Brian, I would like to congratulate you and your team for being inducted, the 1975 Princeville team that finished second in their class in the state football playoffs. So congratulations, Brian.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you very much, Bill Salzer and the rest of the board members and anyone in attendance. It's very humbling, and it's truly an honor to on that evening to be on the same stage with Sean Livingston and Jerry Rashid, who was a tremendous baseball coach in Princeville and Chillicothe, and all the other people. It's just quite a blessing, and we're just very thankful and looking forward to the evening.
Congratulations, Brian. We'd be at miscellaneous and announcements. Mr. Fennell.
Anyone wants to get up early for coffee, pancakes, and sausage, Shore Acres at 7 o'clock, Eagle Days. Come up and look at the view that I have every morning. So, but enjoy the view and the fellowship. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mr. Fennell. Mr. Fennell does have some pretty prime real estate. Ms. Bestucia?
I just wanted to update everybody on the timeline for Scott Sorrell's evaluation. So we are still on track to vote on whatever we agree to for his compensation in the March board meeting. The plan is to have our big discussion, which we normally would have done tonight. We're going to do that, I believe, as part of the executive committee meeting. I don't know if we need to call it a committee of the whole. And so on that Tuesday evening is when we plan to have our big discussion about that. So if you can keep your calendars open, everyone's going to be invited to that. And just a reminder that in this packet, this is very confidential. Do not share it. Do not photocopy it. Do not discuss it with other people. So don't forget it.
Thank you. What was your date again?
The date for the big discussion?
Yes.
That would be the Tuesday, I believe it's March 1st.
Thank you. Mr. Fennell?
When will the evaluation sheets be coming to us?
The information is in this envelope also, and then Gretchen's going to be sending out an email probably today or tomorrow.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay, we'd be at miscellaneous and announcements. Ms. Parker put it at 30 minutes. We're at 28 and a half. She wins $500. Okay. I know, it's Monopoly money, but it's still $500. I think it was goldenrod was the color of those. All right, seeing no other business for our body, everyone please have a safe evening. Watch out for freezing sidewalks. We would be adjourned.